For a long time, the colossal squid was known mostly from fragments, enormous hooks, sections of arms, pieces of soft tissue pulled from the stomachs of sperm whales returning from deep dives. Something enormous was living far below the surface, but almost no one had ever seen it alive. The animal responsible is believed to be the heaviest invertebrate on Earth. Some individuals may grow longer than 40 feet and weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Its eyes can grow wider than a dinner plate, and unlike most squid, its arms carry rotating hooks designed to lock into prey. Yet, despite its size, the colossal squid remains one of the most rarely observed large animals on the planet. It lives deep in the cold waters surrounding Antarctica, in a world where sunlight never reaches and temperatures hover just above freezing. Pressure builds from every direction, darkness stretches for miles, and in that hidden environment, a massive predator moves through water that humans have barely explored. For centuries, sailors told stories of giant squid battling whales in the depths. Many people assumed those tales were exaggerations, but modern discoveries revealed something surprising. Those stories may have been closer to the truth than anyone realized. Today, we explore the strange and difficult life of the colossal squid, one of the most mysterious giants in the ocean. But before we dive in, I'd love to hear something from you. What part of the world are you listening from right now? Is it late evening where you are, or the middle of the night? Tell me in the comments. I always enjoy seeing where these stories are reaching across the planet. Now, let's begin. At the far edge of the world, where the last continents fade into ice and wind, the ocean becomes something different. The water surrounding Antarctica moves with a quiet persistence, circling the frozen land in a vast ring known as the Southern Ocean. From above, it appears cold and distant, a place defined by drifting ice and pale horizons. Beneath the surface, however, it forms one of the most dynamic environments on Earth, a deep and restless system where life has adapted to conditions that rarely exist anywhere else. The colossal squid belongs to this ocean. Its entire existence unfolds within waters that remain locked in cold nearly every day of the year. Temperatures often hover only slightly above the freezing point of seawater. In many regions, they settle close to -2 degrees Celsius, cold enough that exposed skin would quickly lose sensation. For the animals that inhabit these depths, such temperatures are not unusual, but simply the rhythm of their world. Cold water behaves differently than warm water. It grows denser, heavier, and able to carry dissolved gases more efficiently. Oxygen lingers in greater quantities, drifting slowly through the currents that circulate around the Antarctic continent. The colossal squid moves through this dense, oxygen-rich water like a silent shadow. Its muscles and tissues function in an environment where chemical reactions unfold at a slower pace, shaping the tempo of its life. Encircling Antarctica is one of the most powerful oceanic systems on the planet. The Antarctic circumpolar current flows endlessly from west to east, forming a continuous ring of moving water that separates the Southern Ocean from warmer seas farther north. Driven by strong winds and the rotation of the Earth, this current carries enormous volumes of water around the continent without interruption. In doing so, it stirs the deep ocean and lifts nutrients upward from the darkness below. These nutrients feed immense blooms of microscopic plankton during the brief austral summer. For a few months each year, sunlight returns to the Antarctic seas after the long polar night. When that light touches the nutrient-rich surface, tiny drifting organisms multiply in vast numbers. The water itself can take on a faint green cast as plankton spread through the upper layers. From these microscopic beginnings rises an entire chain of life. Antarctic krill gather in immense swarms that can stretch for kilometers, shimmering through the water like drifting clouds of pale copper. Fish, Seabirds, seals, and whales depend on these small crustaceans as a foundation of the ecosystem. Energy flows upward through this network slowly and steadily, each level supported by the quiet productivity of the waters below. Far beneath those sunlit layers, the colossal squid occupies a deeper realm where daylight never arrives. The cold remains constant there, pressing inward from every direction. The sea grows darker with depth until the surface world disappears entirely, leaving only faint traces of life drifting down from above. The currents of the Southern Ocean still reach these depths, carrying nutrients and organic particles that fall through the water like slow snow. Over time, this steady descent feeds the animals living far below the ice. Fish glide through the dim water, squid patrol the darkness, and distant predators follow their movements through the deep. In this immense and cold ocean, isolation becomes part of existence. Antarctica stands far from the densely populated continents of the north, and the waters surrounding it remain difficult for humans to explore. Storms sweep across the open sea ice forms and fractures with the changing seasons, and the distance alone keeps much of the region beyond frequent observation. For the colossal squid, this remote ocean provides both shelter and challenge. Food moves through the ecosystem in long, delicate chains, carried by currents that circle the continent endlessly. Life persists through patience and efficiency, shaped by cold water and constant darkness. Within this vast Antarctic system, the colossal squid drifts through its hidden habitat, a quiet inhabitant of one of Earth's most remote oceans. Long before any human eye encountered the colossal squid itself, its presence revealed itself in fragments carried upward from the depths. The ocean rarely gives up its largest inhabitants directly. Instead, it offers traces, quiet pieces that drift into human reach through the long journeys of other animals. In the early decades of the 20th century, scientists studying the feeding habits of sperm whales began examining the contents of their stomachs with careful attention. These whales returned from dives that carried them thousands of feet beneath the surface into regions where light fades and large squid move through the water beyond human sight. When the whales surfaced and were later examined, the remains of their deep hunts sometimes remained preserved within them. Among these remains were unfamiliar structures that did not resemble anything recorded in scientific collections. Long sections of squid arms appeared, thick and powerful, bearing rows of unusual hooks. Unlike the simple suction cups seen on most squid, these hooks curved inward like small blades. Some were large enough to catch easily on a researcher's glove, solid and sharply formed, arranged in patterns that suggested formidable gripping strength. In 1925, several of these strange arm fragments reached the attention of zoologists who studied marine invertebrates. The pieces had been recovered from the stomach of a sperm whale taken in the waters of the Southern Ocean. At first glance, they resembled parts of giant squid, already known to science, animals that sailors had long spoken about and that researchers had slowly begun to confirm through scattered remains. Yet something about these arms felt different. The hooks were heavier than those seen on other squid species. Their bases rotated slightly within the surrounding tissue, allowing them to pivot and anchor into prey with unusual firmness. The arms themselves seemed thicker, the musculature dense and resilient, even after time inside a whale's stomach. These fragments hinted at an animal built for strength in the cold depths. The scientists who examined them realized they were looking at something unfamiliar. Careful comparisons with preserved squid specimens revealed clear differences in anatomy. The hooks, the arm structure, and the proportions suggested a species that had not yet been formally described. Though the animal itself remained unseen, its existence could be inferred through these unmistakable remains. From those fragments, a new species was recognized and given a scientific name, Mesonicotuthis hamiltoni. The name reflected the peculiar hooks that marked its arms, a defining trait among squid. Even so, the description rested entirely on incomplete material. No intact body accompanied the discovery, no full specimen drifting into a museum jar. The colossal squid entered the scientific record as a puzzle assembled from scattered parts. In the decades that followed, additional pieces appeared from time to time. Whaling expeditions occasionally uncovered similar hooks and arm sections inside sperm whales, taken in Antarctic waters. Each discovery confirmed that the strange squid described in 1925 was not an isolated curiosity, but a real inhabitant of the deep ocean. Still, the animal itself remained elusive. No fisherman hauled one intact to the surface. No research vessel photographed it swimming through its native waters. The colossal squid existed mainly through evidence gathered indirectly, through the feeding habits of whales that hunted where humans could not easily travel. These quiet discoveries gradually built an outline of something immense, moving far below the surface. The size of the hooks alone suggested powerful arms capable of grasping large prey. The thickness of the tissues implied a body far heavier than most squid known at the time. Piece by piece, a portrait formed of a predator adapted to deep Antarctic waters. Through this slow accumulation of evidence, science became aware of an animal that few people had ever seen and that no one had yet studied alive. Its discovery arrived not through direct exploration, but through the long journeys of whales that carried fragments of the deep back toward the surface. Size changes meaning in the deep ocean. In the quiet layers far below the surface, many animals grow far larger than their relatives in warmer and brighter seas. Small crustaceans develop into giants with long, pale limbs. Jellyfish spread into broad drifting forms. Even certain worms and amphipods reach dimensions that seem unusual when compared with species living closer to sunlight. Over time, scientists noticed this pattern repeating across many groups of animals. The phenomenon became known as deep-sea gigantism. The forces shaping this pattern begin with temperature. Water in the deep ocean remains cold and stable, often only a few degrees above freezing. In such conditions, the chemical reactions that sustain life proceed at a slower pace. Muscles contract more gradually, digestion unfolds over longer intervals, and the entire rhythm of metabolism softens into something steady and deliberate. For animals adapted to this environment, a slower metabolism offers certain advantages. Energy moves through the body at a measured rate, allowing nutrients to last longer once they have been absorbed. A meal can sustain an organism for extended periods, sometimes far longer than would be possible in warmer water where metabolic processes run quickly. Body size interacts closely with this slower rhythm. Larger animals possess greater internal reserves. Within their tissues, energy can be stored as fats and proteins that remain available long after feeding has ended. In an ecosystem where food does not always appear in predictable intervals, this capacity becomes valuable. A large body functions almost like a quiet reservoir, holding nourishment through long stretches when prey is scarce. Pressure also plays a subtle role in shaping these forms. As depth increases, water presses inward from every direction. Creatures of the deep often develop soft, flexible bodies that accommodate this pressure without rigid structures. With buoyancy supported by the surrounding water, growing larger does not always demand the same structural investment required on land. The ocean itself carries much of the animal's weight. Food supply in the deep ocean follows a slow and uncertain pattern. Most energy originates near the surface, where microscopic plants transform sunlight into living matter. When these organisms die or are consumed, fragments of organic material drift downward through the water column. Over time, this falling material becomes nourishment for animals living far below. The descent can take days or even weeks, forming a quiet rain of particles, sometimes called marine snow. In such an environment, meals arrive unpredictably. A fish may pass within reach, or a cluster of organic material may drift through the darkness. Between these moments, long intervals of waiting often occur. Large bodies provide resilience during these pauses. Stored energy sustains life, while the surrounding water remains still and silent. Many deep-sea species reflect this pattern. Isopods, resembling armored pill bugs, expand to the size of dinner plates. Amphipods grow longer than a human hand. Certain sea spiders stretch across the seafloor with legs far larger than those of their shallow water relatives. Each example hints at the same underlying balance between cold temperatures, slow metabolism, and the advantage of conserving energy across extended time. The colossal squid exists within this broader pattern of growth. Its remarkable mass does not arise from a single cause, but from several environmental influences woven together. Cold water moderates the pace of life. Energy moves slowly through the deep ecosystem. Food appears in intervals that reward patience and efficiency. Within these conditions, larger bodies become practical forms for survival. Muscles hold reserves that support long journeys through the water. Organs operate steadily within the cold environment, drawing upon stored energy when prey remains distant. Across the deep ocean, gigantism emerges not as excess but as adaptation, a quiet response to the slow and demanding rhythm of life in the depths. In the immense quiet of the deep ocean, vision changes purpose. Light no longer illuminates landscapes or reveals distant horizons. Instead, it appears only in scattered traces, faint signals drifting through the darkness like distant sparks. In this environment, sight becomes less about clarity and more about sensitivity. Even the smallest glimmer can carry meaning. The colossal squid possesses one of the most remarkable adaptations for this dim world. Its eyes grow to extraordinary size, reaching nearly 1 foot across in the largest individuals. Each eye forms a wide sphere embedded in the squid's mantle, positioned so that it can gather light from the surrounding water. When measured against the eyes of other animals, these organs stand among the largest known in the entire animal kingdom. Even whales, which dwarf the squid in overall body mass, carry eyes that are smaller in diameter. The colossal squid, built for the depths where illumination barely survives, invests heavily in the structures that can detect the faintest visual signals. The advantage of large eyes begins with a simple principle of physics. A bigger lens captures more light. In environments where photons arrive rarely and irregularly, the ability to collect even a small additional fraction of light can determine whether an animal detects movement nearby or remains unaware of it. The wide surface of the colossal squid's eye functions like a sensitive receiver, gathering stray rays that would otherwise pass unnoticed. Within the eye, a broad retina lines the interior surface, covered with cells capable of responding to extremely dim illumination. These cells convert tiny pulses of light into signals that travel along the squid's nervous system. In the darkness of the deep ocean, this sensitivity becomes far more valuable than sharp detail. The light encountered at such depths often originates from living organisms themselves. Many deep-sea animals produce brief flashes through bioluminescence, chemical reactions that release small bursts of blue or green light. A drifting jellyfish may pulse gently as it moves. A startled crustacean might release a sudden glow that spreads through the water like a silent flare. For a predator such as the colossal squid, these faint glimmers offer valuable information. The glow of another creature can reveal the presence of prey moving nearby. A brief flicker may trace the path of an animal swimming through the darkness, leaving behind a momentary trail of light that sensitive eyes can follow. Large eyes also provide another subtle advantage in these depths. Some researchers believe that the colossal squid's visual system may help it detect disturbances created by much larger animals moving through the water. When a great body passes nearby, small organisms capable of producing light can react, releasing flashes as they are displaced or disturbed. A predator moving through the deep ocean may therefore create a loose halo of bioluminescent sparks as smaller creatures respond to the sudden motion. A pair of enormous eyes, sensitive to even faint flashes, could notice these signals at a considerable distance. In this way, the squid might perceive the approach of large animals long before physical contact occurs. The structure of the eye itself reflects this emphasis on light gathering. Thick lenses focus incoming rays onto the retina, while the surrounding tissues remain adapted to function under cold and pressure. The entire organ operates in conditions where sunlight never reaches directly, relying entirely on the scattered illumination produced within the deep-sea community. Through these immense eyes, the colossal squid experiences a world defined not by brightness, but by subtlety. The deep ocean reveals itself through brief glimmers and soft pulses, each one carrying information about movement, life, and distance. Within that quiet field of drifting light, the squid moves through its dark habitat with eyes built to capture the smallest trace of illumination. Arms extend outward from the colossal squid in a slow, deliberate symmetry, forming a circle of muscular limbs surrounding its mouth. In many squid species, these arms are lined primarily with suction cups, soft discs that cling briefly to passing prey. The colossal squid carries something more formidable along much of this surface. Embedded among the suckers are hooks, dark and curved, each one shaped like a small claw forged from hardened tissue. These hooks distinguish the species from most other squid. Instead of relying only on smooth gripping surfaces, the colossal squid possesses structures capable of catching and holding prey with remarkable firmness. Each hook rises from a base of flexible tissue, positioned so it can move slightly when pressure is applied. This mobility allows the hook to rotate as it encounters resistance, turning inward and securing whatever it contacts. Seen closely, the arrangement of these hooks forms rows along the arms and tentacles. Their points curve backward toward the body, a design that prevents captured animals from slipping free once they have been caught. The surrounding muscles of the arm tighten as the squid contracts its limbs, drawing prey closer while the hooks maintain their hold. The ocean depths where the colossal squid hunts contain many fish whose bodies are smooth and coated in protective mucus. Such animals can be difficult to grasp with suction alone. Hooks provide an advantage in these encounters. When a tentacle lashes outward and touches a passing fish, the curved tips can penetrate slightly into the skin or lodge against scales. With even a small grip established, the arm can tighten and pull the prey inward. These structures are not rigid in the way that bone or shell would be. They remain composed of hardened organic material similar to the chitin found in many marine invertebrates. This composition allows them to remain durable while still flexible enough to withstand the movement of the squid's arms. As the animal swims or contracts its limbs, the hooks shift subtly within their bases rather than resisting the motion. The rotating quality of the hooks becomes most apparent during capture. When the arm encounters struggling prey, the hook pivots slightly under tension, embedding more securely as force is applied. Instead of sliding across the surface of the fish, The hook settles into position and holds. The surrounding suckers may then attach as well, adding further grip while the squid draws the animal closer to its beak. Along the longer feeding tentacles, the hooks can be especially prominent. These tentacles extend farther than the arms and function as rapid striking tools. When the squid detects suitable prey, the tentacles can shoot forward in a swift motion, their tips spreading outward like open hands. Hooks at the ends make first contact, catching the prey before the arms close in to secure it. The design of these limbs reflects the demands of capturing agile animals in an environment where encounters may be brief. Fish moving through the cold water can change direction quickly, and any successful predator must react with equal precision. Hooks transform the squid's arms into gripping instruments capable of turning a momentary touch into a secure hold. Over time, these hooks may leave marks on the bodies of animals that escape. Scars have been observed on certain fish species that pass through the Southern Ocean, narrow traces where a curved point once caught and then released. Such marks provide small glimpses of the silent encounters unfolding far below the reach of human observation. Within the slow-drifting world of the deep ocean, the arms of the colossal squid carry these rotating hooks as quiet tools of survival. They extend, contract, and move through the water with controlled strength, prepared to secure whatever prey passes close enough to touch. Far above the deep ocean, a sperm whale fills its lungs with air before beginning a descent that carries it far from the surface world. The whale tilts downward and slips beneath the waves, its powerful body moving steadily into darker water. With each passing minute, the sunlight fades behind it, and the surrounding sea grows colder and more silent as depth increases. These dives can reach extraordinary distances below the surface. Sperm whales are among the most accomplished divers of all marine mammals, capable of traveling thousands of feet into the ocean while searching for food. Their journeys unfold in long arcs through the water column, guided by echoes produced from powerful clicks that travel outward and return with information about objects hidden in the dark. Within those deep layers, squid form a large portion of the whale's diet. Many species inhabit the depths where the whale hunts, drifting or swimming through the cold water beyond the reach of sunlight. The whale's echolocation allows it to locate these animals, even when they remain invisible to ordinary vision. Each click spreads through the surrounding water, returning subtle reflections that reveal movement and shape. Occasionally, the whale encounters prey far larger than the smaller squid it often consumes. The colossal squid inhabits many of the same deep regions where these whales travel. When the paths of these two animals cross, the meeting can become a moment of struggle within the dark ocean. Evidence of these encounters appears not in direct observation, but on the bodies of the whales themselves. Many sperm whales bear pale marks scattered along their heads and flanks, thin lines that curve across the skin like faint carvings. Marine biologists studying these whales have noticed that the shapes of these scars often resemble the pattern created by squid hooks. The skin of a sperm whale is thick and resilient, yet the curved hooks carried on the arms of large squid can still leave impressions when the animals resist capture. During a confrontation, the squid may extend its limbs in an effort to hold its attacker at a distance. Hooks press against the whale's skin as the squid attempts to pull away or anchor itself in the surrounding water. These encounters likely unfold in brief but forceful movements. The whale advances through the water, guided by echoes, while the squid responds with rapid contractions of its arms and tentacles. Hooks may catch against the whale's skin as the squid struggles, leaving shallow cuts that heal slowly over time. Once the whale secures its prey within its powerful jaws, the struggle ends quickly, yet the marks left behind remain visible long afterward. Over months and years, the wounds fade into pale scars, thin reminders of moments that occurred far below the reach of human sight. Scientists examining photographs of living sperm whales have documented numerous examples of these hook-shaped scars. Some whales carry only a few marks, while others display many, suggesting repeated encounters with large squid during their long hunting lives. The patterns vary in size and spacing, hinting at different individuals and different struggles that unfolded in the deep. Through these quiet traces, the presence of the colossal squid becomes visible in an indirect way. The scars etched into the whale's skin reveal that large squid have resisted capture with enough strength to leave their imprint on one of the ocean's most powerful predators. In the vast darkness where these meetings occur, the whale eventually returns to the surface to breathe, while the deep ocean closes once more around the place where the struggle happened. Far below the waves, the silent world continues, carrying within it the brief collisions between hunters and the giants they pursue. Below the restless surface of the Southern Ocean, layers of water descend into a gradual fading of light. The first few hundred feet still hold a dim memory of the sun, a pale glow filtering downward through shifting currents. As depth increases, that glow weakens until it becomes little more than a thin haze suspended above the darker world below. The transition is not abrupt but slow and steady, as if the ocean gently closes a curtain over the brightness of the surface. Marine scientists often describe this region as the twilight zone. It stretches through depths where sunlight can still penetrate faintly, though not strongly enough to support the vibrant growth found near the surface. The outlines of drifting animals may still be visible here, though their shapes appear softened and indistinct in the dim water. Within these layers, movement becomes quieter and more deliberate. Fish glide slowly through the fading light, their bodies reflecting only faint hints of color. Squid and other predators move among them, guided by senses adapted to detect motion where brightness has nearly vanished. The colossal squid spends much of its life within this dim territory and the deeper darkness beneath it. The twilight zone offers opportunities for hunting, especially during periods when animals from shallower layers descend in search of food. As they pass through this region, they enter a world where light weakens and the water grows colder. Below the twilight zone lies the midnight zone, a depth where sunlight disappears entirely. Beyond several hundred meters, the ocean becomes completely dark. No natural daylight reaches these depths, and the environment settles into a quiet permanence of shadow. The only illumination comes from living organisms capable of producing their own faint glows. In this deeper realm, the colossal squid becomes an inhabitant of a nearly lightless environment. The water surrounding it absorbs the last traces of sunlight long before they can travel so far. Instead of relying on brightness, animals here navigate through subtle cues carried by movement, pressure, and the occasional flicker of biological light. Hunting in this region requires patience. Prey animals move cautiously through the darkness, conserving energy while drifting along slow currents. Some species migrate vertically each day, rising toward shallower water during the night before returning to deeper layers when faint daylight returns above. These migrations bring brief gatherings of life into the otherwise quiet depths. For predators such as the colossal squid, these gatherings provide opportunities. Fish and smaller squid passing through the water column may cross paths with the hidden hunter waiting nearby. In the absence of sunlight, encounters often occur at close range, where sudden motion can determine whether prey escapes or becomes captured. The structure of the ocean also shapes how animals move through these depths. Temperature layers and subtle currents guide drifting organisms along invisible paths. Over time, these flows create corridors where prey appears more frequently, drawing predators toward the same regions again and again. The colossal squid moves through these hunting grounds with controlled motion, its body adapted for the slow rhythms of the deep ocean. The surrounding darkness conceals its approach while it waits for suitable prey to pass within reach. Movement in these depths remains sparse, but when life does appear, it often travels alone, crossing large distances through the quiet water. Within the twilight and midnight zones, the colossal squid inhabits a world defined by cold and darkness. The ocean becomes vast and nearly empty in appearance, yet life continues to move through it in scattered pathways. Here, the squid carries out its hunting in a realm where sunlight never arrives and the water stretches endlessly in every direction. Color behaves differently in the ocean than it does in open air. As sunlight enters the water, its different wavelengths begin to vanish one by one. The process unfolds gradually as depth increases. Red light disappears first, absorbed by the water within the upper layers of the sea. Orange follows, then yellow, until only faint shades of blue remain far below the surface. Eventually, even these last traces fade, leaving the deeper ocean without any natural daylight at all. This steady filtering of color shapes the appearance of many animals that live far beneath the waves. In the depths where the colossal squid spends much of its life, certain colors offer a subtle advantage. Among them, dark red has become surprisingly common. At first glance, the choice seems unusual. Red often appears bright and vivid in the shallow ocean, standing out clearly against the surrounding water. Yet, in the deeper layers where red wavelengths have already vanished, this color behaves very differently. Without red light present in the environment, surfaces that carry this pigment reflect almost nothing back to the eye. Instead of glowing with color, they appear nearly black. Many predators of the deep ocean display this muted red coloration across their bodies. Fish, crustaceans, and squid alike often carry skins or tissues that appear crimson when brought to the surface under bright laboratory lights. When these same animals move through their natural habitat, however, the effect changes entirely. In the dim environment where they live, their red pigmentation absorbs the faint remaining light rather than reflecting it. The result is a form of quiet concealment. Against the surrounding darkness, a red body becomes extremely difficult to see. Even animals with well-adapted vision struggle to detect objects that reflect so little light back toward them. For predators, this coloration offers an advantage while moving through the water in search of prey. A hunter whose body remains nearly invisible can approach other animals without easily revealing its presence. Fish drifting through the darkness may pass close by without detecting the predator that moves silently nearby. The colossal squid follows this pattern as well. Specimens brought to the surface have shown deep reddish tones across their bodies, particularly along the mantle and arms. In the bright environment of the surface world, these colors appear striking. In the squid's natural surroundings far below, the same pigments help it blend with the surrounding darkness. Other animals employ similar strategies in different ways. Some fish possess skin that absorbs light almost completely, producing surfaces darker than the surrounding water. Certain deep-sea species even carry specialized pigments that scatter very little light, creating bodies that appear almost featureless when illuminated by faint glows. These adaptations reflect the unusual optical environment of the deep ocean. Since sunlight rarely reaches such depths, Most visual encounters depend on small sources of light produced by living organisms themselves. A drifting animal may emit a brief glow, while another releases a soft pulse that spreads outward through the water. In such conditions, remaining unseen becomes easier when the body reflects very little light. A dark red surface absorbs much of the faint illumination that might otherwise reveal an animal's shape. Against the surrounding water, the predator remains little more than a shadow moving slowly through the dim environment. Within the cold layers of the Antarctic Ocean, the colossal squid carries this subdued coloration across its massive form. Though the pigment appears rich when examined under bright conditions, the effect vanishes within the lightless world where the squid lives. In that environment, the color red dissolves quietly into darkness, leaving the predator concealed within the vast and silent water. Stillness can be a powerful strategy in the deep ocean. In the vast layers where the colossal squid lives, movement is often slow and widely spaced. Animals pass through the water one at a time, separated by long intervals of quiet drifting. In such a place, a predator does not always need to chase its prey across great distances. Waiting becomes an efficient form of hunting. The colossal squid appears to rely on this patient approach. Much of what scientists understand about its behavior comes from anatomy and from comparisons with related squid species. These clues suggest that the animal likely hunts as an ambush predator, conserving energy while remaining alert to the faint signals of nearby movement. The body of the squid is well suited for such restraint. Its large mantle contains powerful muscles capable of producing sudden bursts of motion when necessary, yet these same muscles allow the animal to hover gently within the water. Small adjustments of its fins help maintain position while the surrounding currents shift quietly around it. While waiting, the squid extends its arms outward in a loose circle. Beyond them stretch two longer tentacles, slender and flexible compared with the thicker arms. These tentacles serve as the primary tools of capture. Their length allows the squid to reach outward without moving its entire body, expanding the area within which prey can be seized. The tips of the tentacles carry clusters of gripping structures designed to secure contact during the first moment of a strike. When prey drifts within range, the squid can release these tentacles with remarkable speed. Muscles along their length contract in sequence, sending the tentacles forward through the water like narrow ribbons snapping outward. Contact between predator and prey may last only an instant before the squid's arms join the capture. Once the tentacles have touched the target, the shorter arms close inward, surrounding the animal with muscular control. Hooks embedded along these limbs play an important role at this stage. Their curved points catch against the prey's body, preventing it from slipping free as the squid tightens its hold. Fish moving through the cold Antarctic waters often possess smooth scales and protective coatings that help them glide efficiently through the ocean. These same surfaces can make them difficult for predators to grasp. The hooks carried by the colossal squid overcome this challenge. Even a brief touch can anchor the prey long enough for the arms to secure it fully. As the squid draws the captured animal closer, the tentacles begin to retract. The prey is guided toward the center of the ring formed by the arms. At that center lies the squid's beak, a hard structure shaped somewhat like the beak of a parrot. With powerful muscles controlling its motion, the beak can slice through flesh and begin the process of feeding. This sequence of waiting, striking, and securing prey allows the colossal squid to hunt efficiently in an environment where energy must be used carefully. Long periods of stillness reduce unnecessary movement, preserving strength for the brief moment when an opportunity appears. Encounters likely occur at irregular intervals. A fish passing along its quiet route through the water may cross the invisible boundary where the squid's tentacles can reach. Within seconds, the calm water shifts into sudden motion, arms tightening as the predator secures its meal. Afterward, the ocean returns to its usual stillness. The squid drifts once more within the cold water, tentacles relaxed and arms slowly adjusting their position. In the silent depths, where encounters remain rare, patience shapes the rhythm of survival for this hidden hunter. Life in the deep Antarctic waters moves through scattered pathways rather than crowded swarms. Many animals travel slowly through these vast layers, following currents or searching quietly for food in a realm where encounters remain uncommon. For a predator such as the colossal squid, survival depends on recognizing these passing opportunities and capturing the animals that share its remote habitat. Among the creatures that inhabit these cold depths is the Antarctic toothfish, a large and powerful species adapted to the frigid waters surrounding the southern continent. Its body grows thick and muscular, built to move steadily through the ocean while tolerating temperatures that remain near freezing. Special proteins circulate through its blood, preventing ice crystals from forming within its tissues. The toothfish often patrols deeper regions of the Southern Ocean, navigating through layers where pressure increases and light fades into obscurity. With a broad head and strong jaws, it hunts smaller fish and invertebrates drifting through its territory. At times, its path may cross the hunting grounds of the colossal squid. When such an encounter occurs, the squid faces a formidable prey animal. Toothfish can grow large and possess considerable strength, yet they remain vulnerable to predators capable of striking with speed and precision. If the squid's tentacles reach the fish before it can turn away, the curved hooks along the arms help maintain contact while the prey struggles. Evidence for these encounters has appeared in indirect ways. Fragments of Antarctic toothfish have been discovered within the stomachs of sperm whales that feed on large squid. Since whales consume the squid themselves, these remains suggest that the squid had already captured the fish before becoming prey. Through this chain of predation, small glimpses of the squid's diet emerge. Other squid also share the same waters. Many species move through the deeper ocean in search of crustaceans or small fish. Some remain slender and agile, drifting through the water with delicate fins and long arms trailing behind them. For the colossal squid, these relatives can sometimes become prey as well. Cannibalism and predation among squid species occur throughout the ocean. Encounters between different species can lead to sudden captures when one animal proves stronger or faster than the other. In the deep Antarctic ecosystem, where food arrives unpredictably, opportunities for such encounters are rarely ignored. Various deep-sea fish form another part of the available prey. Some species possess elongated bodies, suited for drifting along subtle currents. Others carry soft fins that allow them to hover in the water while waiting for small organisms to pass nearby. Their movements are often measured and deliberate, reflecting the slow pace of life in cold environments. These fish travel along routes shaped by temperature layers and the movement of nutrients through the ocean. Over time, certain regions become places where prey animals appear more frequently, drawing larger predators into the same quiet corridors. When a fish crosses these hidden paths, the colossal squid may be waiting nearby. The sudden extension of tentacles transforms a calm moment into swift action, and the prey becomes secured before it can escape into the surrounding water. Through these encounters, energy flows upward through the Antarctic deep-sea ecosystem. Smaller animals feed upon drifting particles or microscopic organisms. Fish consume those smaller creatures, and squid, in turn, capture the fish that pass within reach. Within this layered network of life, the colossal squid occupies the role of a powerful hunter. It moves through the cold depths among toothfish, smaller squid, and other deep-sea fish that share its environment, each encounter shaping the quiet balance of the ocean far below the ice-covered surface. Far above the depths where the colossal squid drifts, the upper ocean hosts a quiet industry of microscopic life. Tiny plankton absorb sunlight and transform it into living tissue, building the first links in a vast chain of nourishment. These drifting organisms fill the upper layers during productive seasons, multiplying in numbers that can stretch across entire regions of the sea. Yet most of this life never remains where it begins. As plankton age or are consumed by other animals, fragments of organic material begin a slow descent through the water. Bits of shell, strands of mucus, microscopic corpses, and waste particles gather together as they sink. Over time, these pieces form a gentle fall that scientists often describe as marine snow. The name captures the motion more than the appearance. Unlike frozen snowflakes in winter air, these particles are irregular and varied, each fragment carrying traces of once living organisms. Their descent unfolds gradually, sometimes taking days or weeks to reach the deeper ocean. Along the way, they drift through shifting currents, spreading nourishment across vast distances. For the animals living far below the reach of sunlight, this slow rain becomes a primary source of energy. Without light to support photosynthesis, deep-sea ecosystems depend on the organic matter created in distant surface waters. The food produced near the sunlit layers eventually settles into darkness, sustaining creatures that will never encounter daylight. Small organisms become the first to gather around these drifting particles. Bacteria and tiny invertebrates attach themselves to the sinking material, breaking it down and absorbing its nutrients. Their activity transforms each fragment into a temporary feeding ground where life gathers briefly before continuing its journey downward. As the particles sink deeper, slightly larger animals intercept them. Small crustaceans drift nearby, collecting bits of organic matter as they pass. Worms and other invertebrates capture particles that settle onto the seafloor. Each stage of consumption transfers energy gradually from one organism to another. Through this steady process, nourishment spreads through the deep ocean community. Energy moves slowly compared with the rapid feeding cycles of warmer, brighter seas. Animals here often grow at measured rates and conserve their strength between meals, reflecting the unpredictable arrival of food from above. Predators such as the colossal squid participate in the higher levels of this quiet exchange. They do not feed directly on the falling particles themselves. Instead, they capture animals that have already consumed the drifting material, concentrating the energy stored within those bodies. A fish feeding on smaller crustaceans may pass through the squid's hunting range. That fish carries within its tissues the nutrients first created by plankton far above the ocean surface. When the squid captures it, the energy that began in sunlight moves once again through another link in the chain. This layered pathway of nourishment connects distant parts of the ocean into a single, extended system. The surface waters provide the initial productivity, while the deeper regions receive the slow downward flow of organic matter. Each level supports the next, forming a network of life that extends from bright surface waters to the silent depths. Within the darkness of the deep Antarctic Ocean, this falling rain of organic material continues without pause. Though invisible to those above, it sustains an entire community of animals that depend on its quiet arrival. In this world without sunlight, life persists through patience, sustained by the distant productivity of the ocean far overhead. Every colossal squid begins life at a scale almost impossible to reconcile with the size it will one day reach. Long before it becomes a powerful predator of the deep Antarctic Ocean, it begins as a delicate larva drifting through the upper layers of the sea. At this early stage, its body is nearly transparent, its organs small and softly formed, its movement guided more by surrounding currents than by deliberate swimming. Like many squid species, reproduction begins when adult animals release eggs into the open ocean. These eggs develop within gelatinous masses suspended in the water, protected by layers of soft material that drift quietly with the surrounding currents. Inside each egg, the developing embryo slowly forms the structures that will later define the animal's life: mantle, arms, eyes, and tentacles emerging in miniature. When the young squid finally hatches, it enters a world very different from the one it will inhabit later. The upper ocean contains far more activity than the silent depths below. Tiny plankton drift in abundance, and countless small organisms feed upon them. For a newly hatched squid, this environment offers a steady supply of microscopic prey. At this stage, the larval squid feeds on small crustaceans and other minute creatures suspended in the water. Its arms and tentacles remain short and delicate, suited for capturing prey of similar size. The body grows gradually as the young squid gathers energy from these early meals, its tissues expanding and strengthening with each passing stage of development. The upper ocean also provides another advantage during this fragile period of life. Warmer temperatures near the surface allow biological processes to proceed more quickly than they would in colder water. Growth can occur at a faster pace, enabling the young squid to increase its size before descending into the harsher conditions of the deep sea. As months pass, the juvenile squid begins to change in both form and behavior. Its mantle lengthens, its muscles thicken, and its eyes enlarge to gather the limited light available at increasing depths. The arms develop more prominent gripping structures, gradually taking on the features that will later define the adult animal. With these changes comes a slow movement downward through the ocean. Juvenile squid begin to occupy deeper layers, following shifts in temperature and food availability that guide their gradual descent. Each stage of growth carries them farther from the brighter waters where they first hatched. The journey downward does not occur suddenly. Instead, it unfolds through a series of transitions as the squid grows larger and stronger. The animals they pursue as prey change along the way, from tiny drifting organisms to larger fish and squid that inhabit deeper environments. As their bodies expand, the young squid become more capable swimmers. Their fins strengthen, allowing them to maneuver through colder water while maintaining stability in shifting currents. The tentacles lengthen, and the hooks that characterize the species begin to develop more clearly along the arms. By the time the squid reaches maturity, it has completed this gradual descent into the deeper regions of the Southern Ocean. The small, transparent larva that once drifted near the surface has transformed into a large and powerful predator adapted to life far below. This transition from surface-dwelling larva to deep water hunter reflects the layered structure of the ocean itself. Different stages of life unfold within different depths, each environment providing the conditions necessary for growth and survival. Within the quiet waters of the Antarctic Ocean, the colossal squid's life story begins with fragile beginnings near the surface, before continuing downward into the vast darkness where the adult animal spends most of its existence. Understanding how quickly a colossal squid grows presents a quiet challenge for marine science. Unlike animals that can be observed regularly in familiar habitats, this species spends its life in regions rarely visited by researchers. Direct observation of individuals over time remains extremely difficult. As a result, much of what is known about their growth must be inferred from careful study of the few specimens that have been recovered. When scientists encounter a preserved squid, one of the first questions concerns its age. Determining how long the animal lived allows researchers to understand how rapidly its body expanded from a tiny juvenile into one of the largest invertebrates on Earth. Yet the squid leaves behind few obvious markers that reveal its age in simple terms. To approach this puzzle, researchers turn to structures within the squid's body that record subtle traces of growth. One of the most important of these structures is the statolith, a small mineralized organ located within the squid's balance system. These tiny bodies function somewhat like the inner ear structures of vertebrates, helping the squid maintain orientation as it moves through the water. When examined under magnification, statoliths display a series of extremely fine layers arranged one around another. Each layer forms as the squid grows, adding a microscopic band to the structure. The pattern resembles the rings found within the trunk of a tree, though the scale is far smaller and requires specialized equipment to observe clearly. By counting these growth rings, scientists can estimate how many days or months passed during the animal's life. The process demands careful preparation and patient observation. Thin sections of the statolith are polished and placed under powerful microscopes, where researchers trace the faint lines that record each stage of development. Studies using this technique have produced intriguing results. The rings often suggest that large squid may grow more rapidly during the early phases of life than previously imagined. In some cases, the estimated ages of recovered specimens appear surprisingly young compared with their considerable size. Such findings imply that the colossal squid may experience a period of accelerated growth during its juvenile and subadult stages. During these years, the body expands quickly as the animal gathers energy from abundant prey encountered while descending through the ocean's layered environment. Muscles develop strength, the mantle lengthens, and the arms and tentacles gradually reach their mature proportions. Rapid early growth would offer several advantages in the deep-sea ecosystem. A larger body reduces vulnerability to many predators that prey upon smaller animals. As the squid grows, its increasing size allows it to pursue larger prey and occupy a more dominant role within its habitat. Despite these clues, uncertainties remain. Only a limited number of colossal squid specimens have been examined in detail, and the difficulty of collecting new samples means that the available data remains incomplete. Each recovered individual provides valuable information, yet many aspects of the species' life history still await further study. Environmental conditions may also influence how quickly a squid grows. Variations in food availability, temperature, and ocean currents could shape the pace of development from one individual to another. Such factors are common influences in marine ecosystems, where life often responds closely to shifting conditions in the surrounding water. Within the quiet depths of the Southern Ocean, the colossal squid continues its life cycle, largely unseen. Its early growth unfolds through stages that scientists reconstruct from delicate traces preserved in its tissues. Each faint ring recorded within a statolith represents a moment in that journey, marking the gradual expansion of a creature that transforms from a drifting juvenile into a massive predator of the deep. Time leaves subtle traces in the bodies of deep-sea animals, yet for the colossal squid, those traces remain difficult to read with certainty. The species inhabits regions of the ocean that humans rarely observe directly, and individuals almost never remain under continuous study throughout their lives. Without the ability to follow a single animal from birth to death, scientists must reconstruct the length of its life through fragments of evidence gathered from the few specimens that reach the surface. Each recovered squid offers a quiet collection of clues. Within its tissues lie structures that reflect growth, age, and the long sequence of days spent moving through the cold waters of the Southern Ocean. Researchers examine these clues carefully, comparing patterns from one individual to another in order to build a broader understanding of the species. Among the most informative structures are the tiny statoliths that rest within the squid's balance organs. Under magnification, these mineral bodies reveal the layered record of growth that forms gradually as the animal develops. The faint rings preserved within them resemble a delicate chronology of the squid's life, each thin band marking the passage of time. When scientists analyze these rings, they attempt to estimate the age of the squid at the moment it was collected. Though the interpretation requires careful judgment, the results from several examined specimens have suggested a surprising possibility. The colossal squid may not live for decades like some large marine animals. Instead, its lifespan could be measured in only a handful of years. This pattern may seem unexpected for an animal capable of reaching enormous size, yet among many squid species, rapid growth and relatively brief lives appear to be common biological strategies. Their bodies develop quickly, converting available food into muscle and tissue at an impressive pace during early stages of life. If the colossal squid follows this pattern, its life unfolds within a condensed span of time. The young animal grows swiftly after leaving its earliest drifting phase, descending gradually into deeper waters while increasing dramatically in mass. Each year may bring substantial changes in body size as the squid approaches maturity. The advantages of this strategy become clearer within the deep ocean environment. Food resources can appear unpredictably, and animals that grow quickly may reach a size that allows them to capture larger prey sooner. A rapid transition into a powerful predator reduces vulnerability to many threats that target smaller organisms. At the same time, a shorter lifespan reflects the demanding conditions of the ecosystem. The cold depths contain limited energy compared with warmer, sunlit seas. Animals often invest their resources into swift development and reproduction rather than prolonged longevity. By the time a colossal squid reaches full size, much of its life cycle may already be nearing completion. Despite these estimates, many details remain uncertain. The number of specimens available for study remains small, and each new discovery has the potential to refine or challenge earlier conclusions. Subtle differences in growth patterns could reveal variations between individuals or populations inhabiting different regions of the Southern Ocean. Researchers continue to examine every available sample with careful attention, hoping to gather clearer insight into the rhythm of the squid's life. Each preserved statolith, each fragment of tissue, contributes another piece to the slowly forming portrait of a species that lives far beyond routine observation. Within the cold Antarctic depths, the colossal squid moves through its life unseen by human eyes, growing rapidly and passing through its years within a world defined by darkness and pressure. The exact length of that life remains partly hidden, carried within the quiet records written inside the squid's own body. Distance plays a quiet role in keeping some animals hidden from human observation. The colossal squid inhabits waters that lie far from most coastlines, circling a frozen continent that remains among the least visited regions on Earth. The Southern Ocean stretches around Antarctica with immense open distances, and much of its surface remains exposed to powerful winds, shifting sea ice, and long periods of harsh weather. Even reaching these waters requires extended voyages across remote seas. Scientific expeditions do travel there, yet the scale of the ocean surrounding the continent is enormous compared with the number of vessels capable of exploring it. A research ship moving through this environment observes only a small portion of the vast waters that extend in every direction. Between those journeys, the ocean continues its quiet cycles without witnesses. Even when scientists arrive, the conditions present another challenge. The Antarctic environment changes with the seasons, forming wide fields of drifting ice that open and close across the water. Storm systems move through the region with sudden intensity, producing waves and winds that make delicate research work difficult. Equipment lowered into the ocean must endure cold temperatures and strong currents while remaining stable enough to gather meaningful data. Beyond these surface conditions lies an even greater barrier. The colossal squid does not spend its life near the top layers of the ocean, where humans most easily observe marine animals. Much of its existence unfolds far below the depths accessible to divers. Even experienced technical divers rarely descend beyond a few hundred meters, while the squid inhabits waters that extend far deeper. Exploring such depths requires specialized technology. Remotely operated vehicles and deep-sea submersibles carry cameras and instruments into regions where pressure rises to immense levels. Each descent demands careful preparation and substantial resources. The number of missions capable of reaching these depths remains limited, and the areas that can be examined during a single expedition remain small compared with the enormous volume of the deep ocean. Within that vast environment, animals are often widely dispersed. A colossal squid moving through its hunting grounds may encounter long stretches of empty water before another large creature appears nearby. Even if a research vehicle passes through the same region, the chance of crossing paths with the squid at that exact moment remains small. Many of the individuals that scientists have studied were not encountered during direct observation at all. Instead, they appeared unexpectedly in fishing nets or within the stomachs of predators that had traveled upward from the depths. These indirect discoveries offered the first glimpses of the species and helped reveal its presence within Antarctic waters. Occasionally, modern cameras lowered into the ocean capture brief images of large squid moving through the darkness. These rare moments provide valuable insights into how the animals behave in their natural environment. Yet such recordings remain uncommon, often lasting only seconds, before the creature drifts once again into the surrounding blackness. The deep ocean itself contributes to this elusiveness. Light does not travel far within the water at these depths, limiting how far cameras can see, even when artificial illumination is used. Equipment must rely on faint beams that reveal only a small area at a time, leaving much of the surrounding environment beyond view. Through a combination of distance, depth, and the immense scale of the ocean, the colossal squid remains largely unseen. Its life unfolds within waters that humans rarely reach, moving quietly through an environment where observation remains difficult. Within this remote habitat, the animal continues its existence far from the routine presence of human eyes. For many years, the colossal squid existed in scientific records mostly as fragments. Hooks, arms, and scattered tissues had offered hints of its size and structure, yet a fully preserved individual remained beyond the reach of careful examination. Without an intact specimen, researchers could only imagine how the entire animal fit together in its natural form. That situation changed in 2007 during a fishing operation in the cold waters of the Southern Ocean. A vessel working near Antarctica had set long lines deep below the surface in search of Antarctic toothfish. These lines extend through the water for great distances, carrying baited hooks designed to attract fish moving along the ocean floor. During one retrieval of the fishing gear, the crew noticed that one section of the line felt unusually heavy. As the line slowly returned to the surface, a large form emerged from the dark water attached to one of the hooks. The animal had become entangled while attempting to seize the captured fish already hanging from the line. What appeared on deck was a colossal squid of remarkable size, one of the most complete specimens ever recovered. The animal was still largely intact, its long arms and mantle preserved in a condition suitable for scientific study. For researchers who had spent decades piecing together the species from fragments, this moment offered a rare opportunity. The crew carefully secured the squid and kept it frozen to prevent deterioration during transport. Preserving the specimen in cold storage allowed scientists to examine the animal later with precision, protecting delicate structures that might otherwise degrade quickly once removed from the ocean. When the squid eventually reached a research facility, a team of marine biologists began a detailed examination of its anatomy. Each part of the animal revealed information that had previously been uncertain or entirely unknown. The overall mass confirmed that the species could indeed reach extraordinary weight among invertebrates. The arms displayed their distinctive hooks in full arrangement, allowing scientists to observe how these structures were positioned along the limbs. Earlier fragments had shown the hooks individually, but the complete specimen revealed the pattern of their distribution and the muscular framework supporting them. The squid's mantle offered additional insights into the strength of its body. Thick muscle layers surrounded the internal organs, reflecting the powerful jet propulsion system used by many squid species. The fins extending from the mantle were also examined carefully, revealing how the animal might maintain stability while moving through cold water. Particular attention focused on the enormous eyes embedded within the squid's head. With the specimen preserved intact, researchers could measure their full diameter and study the tissues surrounding them. These observations confirmed that the colossal squid possesses some of the largest eyes known among animals, reinforcing earlier estimates based on partial remains. The beak, hidden at the center of the arms, provided another valuable clue. Made of tough chitin, the beak functions as the squid's primary feeding tool. Its shape and size revealed how the animal processes prey once captured, cutting through flesh before digestion begins within the digestive tract. Careful measurements and photographs documented each structure before the specimen was eventually placed on display for further educational and scientific purposes. Through this single individual, many uncertainties about the species began to resolve into clearer understanding. Although much about the colossal squid remains mysterious, the specimen recovered in 2007 offered a rare window into the anatomy of a creature that lives far beyond routine observation. For a moment, the hidden structure of one of the ocean's largest invertebrates emerged from the depths and into the careful light of scientific study. Beneath the drifting ice that circles Antarctica, a vast network of life depends on some of the smallest animals in the ocean. In the cold waters of the Southern Ocean, tiny crustaceans, known as Antarctic krill, form one of the most important foundations of the ecosystem. Each individual is only a few centimeters long, translucent and delicate, yet together they gather in immense swarms that can stretch across kilometers of water. These swarms move slowly through the ocean, pulsing as countless individuals beat their small swimming legs in unison. From a distance, they resemble living clouds, drifting beneath the surface. Their bodies glow faintly pink under filtered light, the result of pigments contained within their shells and tissues. Krill spend much of their time feeding on microscopic plankton suspended in the water. These plankton absorb sunlight in the upper layers of the ocean, transforming that energy into living matter. When krill consume them, the energy captured near the surface becomes stored within the bodies of these small crustaceans. Because krill gather in such immense numbers, they become a central source of nourishment for many larger animals. Fish moving through Antarctic waters rely heavily on these swarms. Certain species patrol the depths where krill drift, opening their mouths to capture clusters of the small crustaceans as they pass. Some fish consume hundreds or even thousands of krill in a single feeding period. The energy stored in the tiny animals accumulates within the bodies of the predators that feed upon them. Through this quiet transfer, sunlight captured by plankton travels gradually upward through the layers of the ocean community. Seabirds, seals, and even the largest whales in the world also depend on these same swarms. When krill gather near the surface, humpback whales and other baleen whales pass through the water with open mouths, filtering enormous volumes of seawater through comb-like plates in their jaws. The krill remain trapped within these plates, providing nourishment for animals many thousands of times larger than the small crustaceans themselves. Far below the reach of these surface-feeding events, fish continue to carry the energy of krill into deeper layers of the ocean. Many species migrate between different depths, feeding on krill when the opportunity arises, and later descending into darker waters where they become prey for larger hunters. Among these hunters are the squid that inhabit the Antarctic deep sea. Squid capture fish that have grown strong on krill-rich diets, concentrating that energy within their own bodies. Through this process, the nutrients that began with microscopic plankton continue their journey upward through the food chain. The colossal squid occupies one of the upper levels of this deep-sea network. When it captures fish moving through its hunting grounds, it inherits the energy those fish gathered from countless smaller meals. Each successful capture represents the culmination of a long chain of feeding relationships, extending all the way back to the smallest organisms drifting in sunlit water. This structure creates a layered ecosystem where each level supports the next. Krill transform the productivity of plankton into dense living swarms. Fish convert those swarms into larger bodies capable of traveling through deeper waters. Squid and other predators then feed upon those fish, continuing the movement of energy through the ocean. In the cold Southern Ocean, this food chain unfolds slowly but steadily. Though the animals involved may differ greatly in size, their lives remain linked through the quiet exchange of nourishment moving from one species to another. Within this intricate system, the colossal squid stands as a powerful predator whose survival ultimately depends on the smallest drifting life far above in the ocean's brighter layers. Among the many forms of life drifting through the oceans, a particular group of animals stands apart for the complexity hidden within their soft bodies. Squid belong to a lineage known as the cephalopods, a group that also includes octopuses, cuttlefish, and the ancient nautilus. The name itself reflects a defining feature of these animals. In Greek, cephalopod means head-foot, a reference to the cluster of arms that extend directly from the head region surrounding the mouth. Unlike many other invertebrates, cephalopods possess nervous systems of remarkable sophistication. Their bodies contain networks of neurons organized into a central brain and additional clusters of nerve cells distributed through the arms. This arrangement allows signals to travel quickly between sensory organs, muscles, and the brain, coordinating movements that can unfold with impressive precision. In squid, the brain sits within a protective cartilaginous casing that surrounds the organ, much like a simple skull. This structure shields the delicate tissue while maintaining flexibility suited for life in the ocean. From this central brain, nerves extend throughout the body, linking the eyes, arms, mantle, and internal organs into a coordinated system capable of responding rapidly to changing conditions. The sensory world experienced by a cephalopod differs greatly from that of many other marine animals. Their eyes provide detailed visual information about nearby motion, while chemical receptors detect subtle traces of substances dissolved in the water. Touch-sensitive cells line the arms, allowing the animal to perceive contact and texture when grasping objects or prey. Together, these sensory systems feed information into the brain, where it can be processed and translated into action. A squid adjusting its position in the water must coordinate the movement of its fins, the contraction of mantle muscles, and the orientation of its arms at the same time. Such coordination reflects the integration of signals flowing continuously through the nervous system. Cephalopods also display behaviors that hint at a form of learning and adaptation. Laboratory studies involving octopuses and cuttlefish have shown that these animals can remember patterns, navigate simple obstacles, and alter their behavior based on previous experiences. While squid have proven more difficult to observe closely, their neurological structure suggests similar capabilities adapted to their own environments. Part of this complexity arises from the distribution of nerve cells throughout the body. A large portion of the neurons in many cephalopods reside not only in the central brain, but also within the arms themselves. These peripheral nerve clusters allow each arm to respond to local stimuli while still remaining connected to the brain's broader coordination. Such a system creates a flexible form of control in which the arms can adjust their movements while grasping prey or exploring nearby objects. The brain provides overall direction, yet the arms retain a degree of independence in their responses. This distributed arrangement differs from the strictly centralized control seen in many vertebrates. Within the deep Antarctic waters, the colossal squid represents one of the largest members of this cephalopod lineage. Its nervous system must coordinate an immense body equipped with long arms, sensitive tentacles, and large visual organs. Signals travel rapidly through this network to maintain balance, guide movement, and control the precise timing required during hunting. Although many aspects of the colossal squid's behavior remain difficult to observe directly, its anatomy reflects the broader characteristics of the cephalopod group. Beneath its soft mantle lies a nervous system capable of integrating sensory input and directing complex motion through the water. Through this intricate biological design, the colossal squid carries forward a lineage of invertebrates known for their unusual blend of flexibility, perception, and neurological sophistication within the ocean's depths. Motion in the deep ocean often unfolds quietly, yet the body of a squid contains a mechanism capable of sudden acceleration when needed. Hidden within its mantle lies a system that allows the animal to move through water by expelling powerful jets of fluid. This form of movement differs greatly from the fin-driven swimming used by many fish, relying instead on pulses of force created within the squid's own body. The mantle forms a large muscular chamber that surrounds most of the squid's internal organs. Water enters this chamber through openings near the sides of the body as the muscles relax. In this phase, the mantle expands slightly, allowing the cavity to fill with surrounding seawater. The process occurs smoothly and almost silently, preparing the animal for its next movement. When the squid contracts its mantle muscles, The water inside the chamber is forced toward a narrow funnel-shaped structure located beneath the head. This funnel, known as the siphon, directs the escaping water into a focused stream. As the water rushes outward, the squid's body is pushed in the opposite direction. This principle reflects the basic physics of propulsion. By pushing water backward, the squid generates forward motion. The stronger the contraction of the mantle muscles, the greater the force of the jet, and the faster the squid moves through the surrounding water. In many situations, the squid may rely on gentler movements. Small fins extending from the mantle help maintain balance and allow slow gliding through the deep ocean. These fins can adjust the animal's orientation while it drifts or hovers within shifting currents. Such controlled motion conserves energy during long periods when the squid simply maintains position within its habitat. Jet propulsion becomes especially valuable when rapid movement is required. During hunting, the squid may need to close the distance between itself and a passing fish. In other moments, it may react to the sudden appearance of a predator or obstacle. A swift contraction of the mantle sends a burst of water through the siphon, propelling the body forward in a quick surge. The direction of travel can also be adjusted by altering the angle of the siphon. Because the funnel remains flexible, the squid can pivot it slightly to one side or another. This allows the jet of water to change direction, steering the animal through the surrounding environment. With careful control of this structure, the squid can rise, descend, or turn as needed. Within the deep Antarctic waters, this form of movement allows the colossal squid to navigate through an environment where currents shift gradually and encounters with prey may occur without warning. The animal can remain almost motionless for extended periods, conserving energy while watching the dim surroundings through its large eyes. When action becomes necessary, the mantle muscles respond immediately. Water is drawn into the chamber and expelled again in powerful pulses, sending the squid gliding through the darkness with sudden speed. Each contraction propels the body forward before the mantle relaxes once more to refill with water. This rhythm of expansion and contraction defines the squid's primary method of locomotion. Though the surrounding ocean appears calm, the animal carries within it a compact engine capable of producing swift bursts of movement whenever the moment requires. Through this balance of quiet drifting and rapid propulsion, the colossal squid moves through its deep ocean environment with efficiency. Its mantle and siphon work together in a fluid cycle that transforms simple seawater into the force that carries the animal through the silent depths. Pressure increases steadily as the ocean deepens. Each layer of water above presses downward with quiet persistence, adding weight to the environment below. By the time the sea reaches depths measured in thousands of meters, the force surrounding every object becomes immense. In some regions of the deep ocean, pressure can exceed hundreds of atmospheres, meaning that the force pressing inward equals the weight of hundreds of times the air pressure experienced at the surface. For creatures adapted to shallow waters, such conditions would quickly prove destructive. Gas-filled spaces collapse as the surrounding pressure compresses them. Rigid structures may fracture under the constant force. Yet many deep-sea animals move through this environment without difficulty, their bodies shaped by millions of years of adaptation to the immense pressure surrounding them. The colossal squid belongs to this community of animals built for life under such conditions. One of the most important features that allows it to survive is the softness of its body. Unlike animals that rely on rigid skeletons filled with air spaces, the squid consists largely of flexible tissue and fluid-filled compartments. Because liquids resist compression far more effectively than gases, a body composed mainly of water experiences relatively little structural change, even when pressure increases dramatically. The tissues of the squid yield slightly as pressure rises, but they do not collapse or fracture. Instead, they shift gently, maintaining their overall shape while adapting to the surrounding force. This flexible design allows the colossal squid to move through deep water where the pressure would overwhelm many other organisms. Its mantle, arms, and internal organs all share this soft structure. Muscles remain supple, able to contract and relax, even while the surrounding ocean presses inward from every direction. Within the body, specialized molecules help maintain stability under pressure. Proteins that support muscle contraction and cellular processes remain functional despite the intense conditions. In many deep-sea animals, these molecules possess subtle structural differences that prevent them from deforming under pressure, allowing biological reactions to proceed normally. Cell membranes also adapt to this environment. These delicate boundaries surrounding each cell must remain flexible enough to permit the movement of nutrients and waste products. In deep-sea species, the chemical composition of the membranes helps them maintain the correct balance between fluidity and stability, even under extreme pressure. The absence of large gas-filled cavities also plays a role. Fish that inhabit shallow water often rely on swim bladders filled with gas to control their buoyancy. Such structures would compress dramatically at great depth. Squid instead regulate their position in the water through different means, relying on body composition and subtle movements rather than internal gas pockets. As a result, the colossal squid can move vertically through a range of depths without the sudden structural changes that gas-filled organs would experience. Its soft body adjusts smoothly to variations in pressure as it travels through the water column. In the dark regions, where the squid spends much of its life, this flexibility becomes an essential trait. The surrounding ocean exerts constant force, yet the animal remains capable of swimming, hunting, and navigating its environment. Within this silent world of immense pressure, survival depends not on resisting the ocean's force, but on accommodating it. The colossal squid endures by yielding slightly to the weight of the water while preserving the delicate balance of its internal structures. Through this quiet adaptation, its soft and fluid-filled body becomes perfectly suited to life within the crushing depths of the Antarctic Ocean. Light in the deep ocean does not arrive from the sun. Instead, it emerges from the bodies of living organisms scattered through the darkness. Small flashes drift through the water, brief pulses of color produced by creatures capable of generating their own illumination. In a world where sunlight never reaches, this living light becomes one of the few signals visible across the surrounding water. This phenomenon is known as bioluminescence. It occurs when specialized chemicals within an organism react with oxygen, releasing energy in the form of light. The reaction unfolds inside tiny structures called photophores, organs that allow animals to control when and how their light appears. Some species release soft glows that linger for several seconds, while others produce sudden flashes that vanish almost immediately. Across the deep ocean, many animals carry these light-producing systems. Small fish display rows of photophores along their bodies, forming faint patterns that shine through the darkness. Jellyfish release drifting pulses as they move through the water, their translucent forms briefly illuminated from within. Even tiny crustaceans can create bursts of light when disturbed, scattering bright particles that float away like glowing dust. These signals serve several purposes within the deep-sea community. One of the most common roles involves attracting prey. Certain animals produce light that resembles the movement of smaller organisms, drawing curious predators toward them. When the approaching animal comes close enough, the waiting hunter strikes quickly. Some deep-sea fish extend thin filaments tipped with glowing organs that sway gently in the water. The movement of these lights can resemble drifting plankton or small animals. Prey drawn toward the glow may not recognize the danger until it is too late to escape. Bioluminescence also functions as a form of communication between animals of the same species. In the darkness, where visual cues are limited, patterns of light provide a way for individuals to recognize one another. Rows of glowing spots may signal identity, while subtle changes in brightness could indicate movement or readiness to reproduce. In some species, these signals appear as synchronized flashes among groups of animals. The water fills briefly with scattered points of light, each one produced by a living organism responding to others nearby. These moments reveal a hidden network of interaction unfolding quietly in the deep. Light can also serve as a defense. When threatened, certain animals release sudden bursts of brightness that momentarily overwhelm the vision of a predator. Others emit glowing clouds of fluid that drift away from their bodies, creating a luminous distraction while the animal escapes into the surrounding darkness. Within this environment, the colossal squid moves through waters filled with occasional glimmers produced by other organisms. Though the squid itself does not rely heavily on bioluminescent displays, it remains surrounded by creatures whose bodies carry these faint signals. A small fish flashing briefly as it swims may reveal its presence to a nearby predator. A disturbed crustacean releasing sparks of light may indicate sudden motion in the water. Each flash becomes a fragment of information traveling through the darkness. These scattered lights transform the deep ocean into a landscape defined not by constant brightness, but by rare moments of illumination. Between flashes, the water remains almost completely black. Then, for a second or two, a glowing signal appears and fades again. Within this quiet rhythm of darkness and light, the animals of the deep sea continue their movements, communicating, hunting, and defending themselves through signals produced by their own bodies. Bioluminescence becomes a language of light carried through the depths, visible only to those who live within that silent world. Few animals in the deep ocean are large enough to threaten a fully grown colossal squid. Its size, powerful arms, and gripping hooks make it a formidable predator within its environment. Yet even this giant exists within a wider network of life, where larger hunters still roam the depths. In those dark waters, one species stands out as the most significant predator of the colossal squid. The sperm whale travels through the deep ocean with an ability unmatched by most marine mammals. Its body is built for long descents into cold, pressurized water far below the surface. When the whale begins a dive, it can remain submerged for extended periods, gradually descending into regions where many large squid live. During these dives, the whale relies on sound rather than vision to locate prey. It produces powerful clicking pulses that travel through the water and bounce back from nearby objects. By interpreting the returning echoes, the whale forms a detailed acoustic picture of its surroundings. This system allows it to detect animals moving through darkness where light provides little guidance. Within these depths, the whale encounters many species of squid, including the colossal squid. When such a meeting occurs, the whale's immense size and strength often give it the advantage. Its large jaws close around the prey, securing it before the squid can escape the encounter. Evidence of this relationship has appeared through several lines of observation. Remains of colossal squid have been found within the stomachs of sperm whales recovered during earlier scientific studies. These remains included hooks, beaks, and fragments of tissue that revealed the presence of the squid among the whale's prey. At the same time, the bodies of living sperm whales sometimes display pale scars across their skin. These marks often resemble the curved shape of squid hooks, suggesting that some squid resist capture with considerable force. When a squid attempts to defend itself, its arms may press against the whale's skin, leaving faint impressions that remain visible long after the encounter has ended. Despite these struggles, the whale's size usually determines the outcome. A mature sperm whale outweighs the largest squid by a substantial margin and carries jaws capable of exerting powerful pressure. Within the deep ocean food web, it occupies one of the highest positions among predators, capable of capturing such large prey. Juvenile colossal squid face additional threats before reaching their full size. During earlier stages of life, when their bodies remain smaller and less powerful, other predators may take advantage of the opportunity. Among these potential hunters are certain large sharks that patrol Antarctic waters. Species such as sleeper sharks move slowly through the cold depths, searching for fish, squid, and other animals that cross their path. These sharks possess broad mouths and strong jaws, capable of consuming a variety of prey. If a young squid encounters such a predator, it may struggle to escape the attack. The vulnerability of juveniles reflects a common pattern within marine ecosystems. Many large animals begin life at smaller sizes, where the risk of predation remains high. Only those individuals that grow quickly enough manage to reach the relative security of adulthood. As the colossal squid increases in size, the number of predators capable of capturing it decreases sharply. Once fully grown, few creatures possess the combination of strength, size, and hunting ability required to overpower such an animal. Within the deep Antarctic Ocean, the sperm whale remains the most consistent hunter capable of challenging this giant squid. Their rare encounters unfold far below the surface, where the silence of the deep sea surrounds brief moments of struggle between two of the ocean's most powerful inhabitants. The surface of the ocean often draws the most attention. Waves move across open water, seabirds circle above, and ships travel between distant continents. Yet the surface represents only a thin layer of a far greater world. Beneath that familiar boundary lies the majority of the ocean's volume, stretching downward into depths that form the largest habitat on Earth. The deep sea occupies an immense portion of the planet's living space. When the ocean floor drops beyond the continental shelves, the water above continues downward for thousands of meters. These regions form vast basins, plains, ridges, and trenches that extend across the globe. Taken together, they create an environment far larger than all land habitats combined. Within this immense space, sunlight disappears quickly. Only the uppermost layers receive direct illumination from the sun, leaving the majority of the ocean in darkness. Yet life continues to thrive throughout these depths, adapting to conditions that differ dramatically from those near the surface. The scale of the deep ocean becomes clearer when its volume is considered. More than 90% of the ocean's living space exists below the depths reached by sunlight. In these regions, animals inhabit layers of water that extend far beyond the reach of ordinary observation. The seafloor itself forms another vast landscape within this hidden habitat. Plains of soft sediment stretch across wide distances, while underwater mountains rise silently from the seabed. Deep trenches carve narrow valleys, thousands of meters below the surrounding terrain. Each of these environments supports communities of organisms adapted to its particular conditions. Despite the enormous size of this habitat, much of it remains unexplored. Research vessels and submersibles have visited only a small fraction of the deep ocean. Every descent into these waters reveals new species and unfamiliar forms of life that had previously gone unnoticed. Scientists estimate that millions of marine species may exist across the world's oceans, many of them living in deep environments that have yet to be studied in detail. Some of these animals remain small and difficult to detect, while others inhabit regions where exploration has occurred only rarely. When remotely operated vehicles descend through the water, their cameras often reveal creatures that appear unlike anything previously recorded. Strange fish glide slowly through the darkness, delicate invertebrates drift above the seafloor, and unfamiliar organisms cling to rocks or sediments far below the surface. Each discovery adds another piece to the expanding picture of life in the ocean. New species of worms, crustaceans, jellyfish, and other animals are described regularly as scientists continue to explore deeper regions of the sea. Within this vast and largely unseen world, the colossal squid represents only one inhabitant among countless others. Its life unfolds within waters that form part of the largest biological environment on the planet. The deep ocean extends across continents and beneath polar ice, connecting distant regions through a continuous volume of water. Currents move slowly through these depths, carrying nutrients and organisms across long distances. Although human exploration continues to expand, the majority of this habitat remains largely unknown. Vast areas of the ocean floor and the water above it have yet to be studied closely. Within those unexplored regions, countless species continue their lives unseen. The colossal squid moves through this immense environment as one of the larger predators within a habitat that stretches far beyond the limits of human observation. Around it, a multitude of other organisms inhabit the same dark waters, forming a living community within the largest habitat on Earth. Long before humans could enter the deep ocean directly, the darkness below remained almost entirely beyond observation. The depths were known only through fragments brought upward by fishing lines or the remains found within the stomachs of predators. Over time, however, new technologies began extending human vision into regions that had once been unreachable. Among the most important of these tools are remotely operated vehicles. These machines, often called ROVs, descend into the ocean while connected to research vessels by long cables. Engineers control them from the ship above, guiding the vehicle slowly through deep water while instruments collect images and measurements from the surrounding environment. An ROV carries powerful lights, cameras, and mechanical arms designed for delicate work. As the vehicle moves through the dark water, the lights illuminate a small portion of the surrounding space, revealing animals drifting nearby or resting along the seafloor. High-definition cameras transmit continuous video back to the researchers on the ship, allowing them to observe scenes unfolding thousands of meters below the surface. These vehicles can remain underwater for long periods, moving carefully through environments where pressure would quickly overwhelm ordinary equipment. Their sturdy frames protect sensitive electronics while the surrounding water presses inward from every direction. With precise thrusters, an ROV can hover in place, approach fragile organisms, or collect samples for later study. Alongside these remotely controlled machines, scientists also use deep-sea submersibles designed to carry human observers directly into the ocean depths. These submersibles contain small pressure-resistant cabins that protect their occupants while the surrounding water exerts enormous force. Thick, transparent windows allow researchers to look outward into the dark environment as the craft descends. Inside the cabin, Scientists monitor instruments that track depth, temperature, and the movement of the submersible through the water. External lights reveal animals that would otherwise remain invisible in the darkness. The experience allows researchers to witness deep-sea life directly rather than through distant cameras. Although submersibles can explore only limited areas during each dive, the opportunity to observe the deep ocean firsthand provides valuable insights into how animals behave within their natural surroundings. Movements that might appear unusual on camera can often be understood more clearly when seen directly through the viewing ports of the craft. Another essential element of deep-sea exploration lies in the development of highly sensitive imaging systems. Cameras designed for these missions must operate in extremely dim environments while enduring intense pressure and cold temperatures. Advances in sensor technology have allowed modern cameras to capture faint light that earlier equipment could not detect. Some systems record bioluminescent flashes produced by deep-sea organisms, while others capture high-resolution images of animals moving through the water column. These recordings help scientists study behavior, body structure, and interactions between species without removing the animals from their environment. Together, these technologies have gradually expanded human understanding of the deep ocean. Each expedition, using remotely operated vehicles, submersibles, and advanced cameras, reveals new details about life within these hidden regions. Through these tools, researchers occasionally encounter animals rarely seen before, including large squid moving silently through the darkness. Such moments offer brief glimpses into the lives of creatures that inhabit one of the least explored environments on Earth. With every descent, technology carries human observation farther into the depths, illuminating small portions of a vast ocean that still holds countless mysteries waiting quietly in the dark. Knowledge of the colossal squid has grown slowly, assembled from rare encounters and careful study of preserved specimens. Even with modern research tools, much of the animal's life continues to unfold far beyond regular observation. The ocean depths where it lives remain difficult to reach, and the squid itself appears only briefly when circumstances bring it into human view. Because of this distance, many aspects of its behavior remain uncertain. Scientists understand the general structure of its body and the environment it inhabits, yet the details of its daily life still lie largely hidden. Questions about how these animals move through their territory, how often they feed, and how they interact with others of their species have not yet been fully answered. Direct observation of a living colossal squid in its natural surroundings remains extremely rare. Cameras lowered into deep water occasionally capture glimpses of large squid passing through the frame, but these moments often last only a few seconds. The animal drifts beyond the reach of the lights, leaving researchers with only a brief record of its movement. Such short encounters provide valuable information, yet they reveal only fragments of a much larger story. The deep ocean is vast, and a single camera view represents only a small window into the surrounding environment. When a squid appears on screen, it is often already moving away, leaving little time to study its behavior in detail. One of the least understood aspects of the species involves reproduction. Scientists know that colossal squid, like other cephalopods, reproduce by transferring packets of sperm from the male to the female. However, the specific behaviors surrounding this process remain largely unknown. No direct observation of mating in this species has been recorded in its natural habitat. The location where eggs develop also remains uncertain. In some squid species, eggs are released into gelatinous masses that drift through the water until the young hatch. It is possible that the colossal squid follows a similar pattern Yet the precise conditions surrounding this stage of life have not been observed directly. Another mystery concerns how frequently these animals encounter one another in the vastness of the deep ocean. The environment they inhabit covers immense distances, and individuals may travel long stretches without meeting others of their kind. Understanding how they locate potential mates or communicate within such a large habitat remains an open question. Scientists also continue to investigate how the squid behaves during hunting. While its anatomy strongly suggests ambush strategies, detailed observation of a full hunting sequence in the wild has not yet been captured on film. The exact movements it uses when approaching prey, the distances from which it strikes, and the timing of its attacks remain partly inferred rather than directly witnessed. Advances in deep-sea exploration may gradually provide clearer answers. Improved cameras, quieter observation vehicles, and longer recording missions increase the chances of encountering these elusive animals in their natural environment. Each new expedition carries the possibility of revealing behaviors that have remained hidden for centuries. For now, the colossal squid remains partly known and partly mysterious. Its anatomy offers strong clues about how it lives, yet much of its story still unfolds unseen in the cold depths of the Southern Ocean. Within that remote world, the squid continues its movements through darkness, living a life that science has only begun to understand. Two enormous squid species inhabit the deep ocean, often spoken about together yet belonging to different branches of the Cephalopod family. One is the colossal squid, the animal whose hidden life moves through the cold waters surrounding Antarctica. The other is the giant squid, a species that inhabits deep regions of oceans across much of the world. Their names are similar, and their bodies share the long arms and tentacles typical of squid. Yet important differences separate these two deep-sea giants. For many years, the distinction between them remained unclear. Early discoveries often consisted of isolated arms or fragments recovered from fishing gear or from the stomachs of predators. Without complete specimens, researchers sometimes struggled to determine whether these remains belong to a single species or to multiple kinds of large squid. Gradually, as more material reached scientific collections, patterns began to emerge. The giant squid and the colossal squid showed differences in the shape of their arms, the structure of their hooks, and the proportions of their bodies. These anatomical details revealed that the animals belonged to separate species with distinct evolutionary histories. One of the most noticeable differences lies in overall length. Giant squid often possess longer bodies when measured from the tip of their mantle to the ends of their extended tentacles. Some individuals may reach impressive lengths as their slender tentacles stretch outward through the water. This elongated form gives the giant squid a graceful appearance, its body narrowing as the tentacles trail behind. The colossal squid, by contrast, tends to be shorter in total length. Its tentacles are somewhat more compact, and the mantle itself appears thicker and more robust. Instead of stretching into long, narrow proportions, the colossal squid carries a heavier body built with dense, muscular tissue. This difference in build leads to another important contrast between the species. Although the giant squid may exceed the colossal squid in length, the colossal squid generally surpasses it in overall mass. Its body can grow significantly heavier, making it one of the most massive invertebrates known. Part of this weight comes from the strong musculature contained within the mantle and arms. These tissues support the squid's powerful movements and the gripping strength of its hooked limbs. The result is an animal that appears solid and compact, compared with the more elongated structure of the giant squid. The hooks themselves provide another distinguishing feature. Giant squid arms typically carry suction cups lined with small serrated edges, structures that help maintain a firm hold on prey. The colossal squid possesses larger rotating hooks that curve inward along its arms and tentacles. These hooks function as gripping tools, capable of securing slippery animals in the cold waters of the Southern Ocean. The habitats of the two species also differ in certain ways. Giant squid inhabit deep waters in several parts of the world's oceans, often associated with continental slopes and deep basins. The colossal squid appears more closely linked to Antarctic regions, where cold currents circulate around the southern continent. Despite these differences, the two species share a similar aura of mystery. Both inhabit deep environments where direct observation remains rare, and both have long captured human imagination through stories of enormous squid moving unseen through the darkness. Through careful study of recovered specimens, scientists have gradually clarified how these animals differ while still belonging to the same remarkable lineage of large cephalopods. One stretches longer through the water, while the other carries greater weight within a compact frame. Together, they represent two distinct giants of the deep ocean, each adapted to its own region of the hidden world beneath the waves. Vast portions of the ocean remain untouched by direct human observation. Beneath the familiar movement of waves and currents lies an immense region where light rarely travels and exploration remains difficult. Within these depths, many animals continue their lives with little disturbance from the surface world. The colossal squid is among them, moving through waters that few research vessels have ever studied closely. Although knowledge about the species has increased over the years, most of its life still unfolds beyond human sight. The animal spends its time in deep regions where cameras and submersibles reach only occasionally. Each descent into these waters reveals a small fragment of the environment, yet the surrounding ocean stretches far beyond the illuminated area of any research expedition. The deep sea forms a habitat of extraordinary scale. Layers of cold water extend downward through immense distances, creating an environment that remains largely unvisited. Research teams carefully select small areas for investigation, lowering instruments into the water while the majority of the surrounding region remains unexplored. Because of this vastness, encounters with large deep-sea animals remain uncommon. A colossal squid may travel quietly through thousands of meters of water without crossing the path of a research vehicle or camera. Even when scientists explore areas known to contain large squid, the animals may pass by unnoticed, hidden in darkness beyond the range of observation. Technological advances have made it possible to reach deeper regions than ever before. Remotely operated vehicles glide slowly through the water, their lights revealing animals drifting in the surrounding darkness. Submersibles descend to depths where pressure would crush ordinary equipment, carrying scientists closer to the hidden ecosystems of the deep. Yet even with these tools, the deep ocean remains difficult to study continuously. Each expedition lasts only a limited period of time before the research vessel must return to port. Between these journeys, the environment resumes its quiet rhythms without observers present. This gap between exploration and the natural life of the ocean means that many behaviors remain unseen. The movements of the colossal squid, its encounters with prey, and its interactions with other animals continue to occur in places where no human instrument records them. Occasionally, a camera captures a brief glimpse of a large squid passing through the frame. In those moments, the animal appears suddenly within the light, before fading once more into the surrounding darkness. These fleeting images offer valuable insights, yet they reveal only a small portion of a much larger existence. The majority of the squid's life likely unfolds far from such encounters. It drifts through cold layers of water, hunts among scattered prey, and navigates the silent landscape of the deep ocean without ever approaching the limited zones where humans observe marine life. Within that environment, time passes quietly. Currents move slowly through the water column, carrying nutrients and small organisms through vast distances. Fish and other squid follow these subtle pathways, while larger predators patrol the same hidden corridors. The colossal squid remains one of the most powerful inhabitants of this remote habitat, yet its presence is rarely witnessed directly. Much of what science understands about the species has been reconstructed from fragments, indirect evidence, and occasional discoveries. Beyond the reach of regular exploration, the deep ocean continues to hold countless stories unfolding without human awareness. Among them moves the colossal squid, a giant that still spends most of its existence hidden within one of the least observed environments on Earth. Across the deepest regions of the ocean, discovery still unfolds slowly. Vast stretches of water remain largely unexplored, extending beneath remote seas where research vessels rarely travel. Within these depths, life continues its quiet cycles beyond the regular reach of human observation. Every expedition that descends into these environments reveals something new, suggesting that the deep ocean still holds countless forms of life waiting to be understood. Many animals that inhabit these waters remain entirely unknown to science. Some are small and delicate, easily overlooked in the darkness, unless a camera passes close enough to reveal them. Others may be larger creatures that simply live in areas seldom visited by research equipment. The immense size of the ocean makes it possible for entire species to exist without ever encountering human instruments. When scientists lower cameras into unexplored regions, unfamiliar shapes sometimes appear within the beams of light. Strange fish glide slowly through the water with bodies adapted to cold and pressure. Transparent invertebrates drift above the seafloor like fragile apparitions. Unusual crustaceans move across sediments that have rarely been disturbed. Each of these discoveries expands the known diversity of ocean life. New species are described regularly as researchers examine specimens collected during deep-sea expeditions. Some are identified from physical samples retrieved by remotely operated vehicles. Others become known through photographs or video recordings that capture their forms clearly enough for careful study. The process of understanding these animals often takes time. Scientists compare anatomical details with known species, examining structures such as fins, limbs, and internal organs. Genetic analysis can reveal relationships between newly discovered organisms and others already described. Through this careful work, the expanding map of marine biodiversity becomes gradually clearer. Yet the rate of discovery suggests that much remains hidden. Because the deep ocean occupies such a large portion of the planet, only a small fraction of its environments have been examined thoroughly. Entire mountain ranges, valleys, and plains on the seafloor remain largely unvisited. Within this immense setting, the colossal squid stands as a reminder of how little humans once knew about the creatures inhabiting the depths. For centuries, stories circulated about enormous squid living far beneath the waves. Only through gradual scientific investigation did evidence accumulate to confirm that such animals truly existed. Even after its recognition as a distinct species, the colossal squid continued to evade detailed observation. Much of what is known about it comes from fragments, rare captures, and occasional glimpses recorded by cameras lowered into deep water. The animal's daily life still unfolds mostly outside the boundaries of scientific observation. In this way, the squid reflects a broader truth about the deep ocean. Even large animals, capable of reaching remarkable size, can remain hidden within the vastness of their environment. The ocean's depth and scale provide countless places where life continues quietly beyond human awareness. Every new expedition into these waters offers the possibility of encountering species never seen before. A camera lowered through the water column may reveal a creature whose existence was previously unknown. A specimen collected from the sea floor may represent an entirely new branch of marine life. The deep ocean, therefore, remains one of the last great frontiers of biological discovery on Earth. Within its darkness, countless organisms carry on their lives, shaping ecosystems that scientists have only begun to explore. The colossal squid moves among these hidden communities as one of the most powerful inhabitants of its realm, quietly reminding us that the ocean still holds many secrets waiting patiently in the depths. Far below the restless surface of the sea, the deep ocean stretches outward as the largest wilderness on Earth. It lies beyond the reach of sunlight, beyond the range of ordinary exploration, forming a world that covers more of the planet than any forest, desert, or plain on land. In these depths, the water remains cold and dark, pressing quietly against every living thing that moves through it. Within this immense environment, life has taken forms shaped by conditions that differ greatly from those near the surface. Animals grow slowly in cold water, senses adapt to faint signals carried through darkness, and movement unfolds within a landscape where distance can separate creatures by vast stretches of empty ocean. Over countless generations, species have evolved to survive in these quiet regions where light rarely arrives. The colossal squid belongs to this hidden realm. Its body reflects the long history of adaptation to deep water, a powerful form built to move through cold currents and capture prey in a place where encounters are rare. Large eyes gather the faintest traces of light. Muscular arms carry hooks capable of securing slippery fish, and a flexible body endures the immense pressure surrounding it. Although its size makes it one of the largest invertebrates known, the colossal squid still remains largely unseen. Its habitat extends through regions where few cameras descend and where divers cannot reach. The animal spends its life moving through waters that humans have explored only briefly. This quiet existence reflects the scale of the ocean itself. The deep sea contains far more space than the thin, sunlit layers above. Most of the planet's living environment lies within these dark waters, forming a habitat so vast that even large animals may pass their entire lives without ever encountering human observers. In that sense, the colossal squid is not alone in its hidden life. Countless other organisms inhabit the same depths, each adapted to the unique conditions of the deep ocean. Fish glide through the water column, delicate invertebrates drift slowly through the currents, and predators patrol the darkness, searching for the scattered signs of prey. Together, these animals form a living community, sustained by distant sources of energy. Nutrients descend from the upper ocean, currents move slowly through the depths, and life continues within a quiet balance shaped by cold temperatures and immense pressure. Even as exploration advances and new technologies allow scientists to study deeper waters, much of this world remains beyond regular observation. Each expedition reveals small glimpses of the deep sea, yet the majority of its landscape continues unchanged between these brief visits. Somewhere within those Antarctic depths, Colossal squid still move through their ancient habitat. Their bodies glide through cold currents, while tentacles drift silently behind them. In the darkness, they hunt, grow, and carry out the rhythms of their lives without witnesses. The ocean surrounding them stretches for thousands of kilometers, a silent wilderness filled with animals that evolved far from sunlight and human presence. Within that immense environment, the colossal squid continues its quiet existence, a giant of the deep living almost entirely beyond human sight.